Welcome to Head to Heart Daily Devo. It's week 9, day 5 now. We are cruising through this thing like it's a Caribbean. No, that is going to be cut out because it did not make sense. Good coffee. Today we're in chapter 19, starting a new chapter. We are reading verses 1 to 10. This is a passage that you probably have heard before. It's about a wee little man, a small little man named Zacchaeus, and he was a tax collector, one of those scoundrels. And so we get to see just really a heartwarming interaction between him and Jesus today, and it shows us something important that we'll talk about. So let's go. Take a moment, pause and pray. Ask God to speak to you in this time. Grab that Bible and journal and let's go. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector. He's a big deal and was wealthy. Rich dude. Rich guy who made his wealth off of cheating people during their taxes. So that's kind of how tax collectors would make their money. That's why people would hate him, because they get wealthy by really charging people more than they have to. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. Oh, poor little man. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see, since Jesus was coming that way. So he is short, can't see over the crowd, climbs a tree so that he can get a good angle on Jesus. Jesus must have been a huge deal for this wealthy man to climb a tree in order to get a good visual. I don't hear many stories of adults climbing trees these days. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." Look at Jesus is such a boss. He's just like walking, and then he looks up in a tree, sees a guy, and he's like, "Hey, Zacchaeus," knows his name, and he's like, "Come down here. Today I'm staying at your house. Today I'm going to eat at your house," which would have blown this guy's mind because, again, he's a sinner. He's a tax collector. He's not liked by the Jewish religious elite. So this would have been crazy for him. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He is gone to be the guest of a sinner." Once again, Jesus is associating with sinners. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost." Why is Jesus eating with sinners? For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save the lost. Zacchaeus is the exact person Jesus has come for. A person who is living in sin without God, and Jesus came to him. Jesus embraced him before Zacchaeus did anything, right? Before he repented at all. He wanted to know who Jesus was, and Jesus gave him that opportunity. Jesus met him where he was at, met him in his home, welcomed him, and Zacchaeus responds to the love of Jesus by turning from his ways of sinfulness. That's the formula. This is kind of a reversal of the way we often think it works. We often think, I do good things, I make myself worthy, and then I can come to God and he'll love me. But Zacchaeus shows us this, that while Zacchaeus was still a sinner, Jesus loved him. Jesus welcomed him, and Jesus humbled him. And he turns to Jesus and he says, "Lord, I'm repenting of my ways. If I have cheated anyone, I want to pay them back. I'm going to give out half my possessions. I no longer care about my wealth. I would rather bless people with it." And you see a changed man because he's responding to the love of Jesus. And I think that's so awesome. And that's what Jesus came to do. He came to love the lost. We don't have to clean ourselves up and make ourselves perfect before Jesus will love us. He loves us in our sin, and it's that love that makes us turn from that sin. We turn and we run the other way. We run to him away from that sin. I think what Zacchaeus shows us so beautifully is that idea of what real repentance looks like. The thing you once loved and valued, you now turn completely the opposite direction. His wealth is no longer his treasure. Instead, it's the way he chooses to bless people by giving away his wealth and by repaying those that he once stole from, repaying 4 times what he took from the people he took from. So for us today, the question is this: with the sin in your life, the thing that's pulling you away from God, what would it look like to turn from that and to run the other direction? And like, what is that thing? What is that sin? And what would real repentance look like? Think through the answer to that question. It's super important. And a lot of times we have to identify the sin in order to know then what does it look like to do the opposite of this? What does it look like to live for Jesus instead of to live in this sin? And your prayer for today is, God, would you show me what it looks like to give up this sin that's in my life and to turn from it and to live for you in this area, whatever the thing is, whether it's lust, pride, greed, God, whatever it may be for us, what maybe gossip, maybe it's slander, talking bad about others, whatever that sin may be in our lives, God, would you help us turn from that thing and run after you and live the way you ask in that area? So that's your daily Devo. Thanks for tuning in. Journal down these things, journal it, write it down, and ask God daily about these things to help you live better. Repentance is not a one and done type of thing. It's something you constantly have to do. All right, have a good one. I'll see you soon, hopefully tomorrow in the next video. Have a good day. Later.